MeMonster.
Chapter 326. Megacity, Lakor. In Lakor, the second capital of Leoris, Yu Yenha was making full use of her abilities. Merchant Group, Lotus Flower. Lotus Flower was the merchant group owned by Yu Yenha's clan. In just a month, she had transformed this small group into the most renowned in the area, thanks to the people around her. First was Rachel. Technically her servant, Rachel's elementals were even more powerful in this world, where nature and mana were richer than on Earth. Her elementals could speed up carts, preserve perishable goods, and automatically gather herbs. Next was Yi Ji-yoon, daughter of the prestigious Prin clan. Although the Republic of Leoris had abolished the caste system, the Prin clan was still regarded as nobles. Yi Ji-yoon invested her clan's money in Lotus Flower and even lent her clan's name, which had a spotless reputation. This made it easy for Yu Yenha's group to earn the trust of others. Inside the Lotus Flower office, Yi Ji-yoon stared at the financial statement in surprise. "What are you going to do with all this money?" Yu Yenha shrugged at her question. "First, establish a force. We don't know what will happen from now on." She hadn't forgotten they were inside the Demon Realm gate. She planned to be ready for anything, whether it required military strength or money. "Our chief officer sure is amazing." Yi Ji-yoon snuggled up to Yu Yenha, praising her. Tuk tuk. Someone knocked on the door. "Come." Yi Ji-yoon coughed and put on a stern, noble expression. Yu Yenha smirked. "Come in." The door opened. Rachel entered, holding a long, rod-like object wrapped in a red veil. "Oh, you're here, Rachel?" Yu Yenha greeted her. Rachel smiled and set down the item. "Oh, that must be it." Without hesitation, Yu Yenha unwrapped the item, revealing an ornamental sword with a clear aura. "What's this?" Yi Ji-yoon asked. Yu Yenha picked up the sword. Its blade was entirely blue, a treasure she had bought for Rachel. "Here, take it." Yu Yenha smiled and handed the sword to Rachel. Rachel's eyes widened in surprise. "It's a sword that apparently raises the power of elementals. Our world doesn't have treasures like this, since elementalists are rare, but here there are many. This sword is named Wisp." Yu Yenha placed the sword in Rachel's hands. Rachel, caught off guard by the gift, lowered her head with a bittersweet smile. "Thank you." At that moment, Kwong! The office door burst open. A guard, drenched in sweat, rushed in. He shouted, "Demonic monsters! Demonic monsters appeared!" The group immediately ran out of the office. Outside, the city was peaceful, no sign of demonic monsters. Where are the demonic monsters? I don't know. It didn't look like he was lying. Yu Yenha, Rachel, and Yi Ji-yoon each muttered, puzzled. As they stood there, a robed man approached. "Demonic monsters?" The man's voice made Yu Yenha frown. "Who are you?" "They were here, but not anymore." "Pardon?" Recognizing the voice, Yu Yenha bent down and peeked under the man's hood. "Ah!" She pointed at him. "You!" Kim Hajin smiled. "Yo, it's been a while." Hajin she? Hajin she?" Yi Ji-yoon and Rachel stared at him in shock. "I'm here too." A small child peeked out from behind Kim Ha-jin. It was Eileen, the spirit speech master. Prighton clan's castle. Shin Jong-hak, eldest son of the Prighton clan, lay in bed sighing. "That bastard." The prince's words echoed in his mind. Does he know about my grandfather? And how? Anxiety and curiosity tangled inside him. Tok tok. As he ruffled his hair in frustration, someone knocked. The door opened without waiting for a reply. "Hey, Shin Jong-hak." It was Chae Ne-yun. "Why are you here?" Shin Jong-hak sighed and looked at her. Chae-ne-yun had an antenna-like ahoge on her head, a style she used for infinite communication. Have you heard of the Transnational Peace Conference? Transitional Peace Conference? He frowned at the sudden question. Yeah, I've heard of it. It's exactly what it sounds like. When is it? Next month? Why? Ah, Kim Soo-ho says something will happen that day. He told us to strengthen ourselves in preparation. Chae-ne-yun sat on the bed's edge. Shin Jung-hak stared at her. Kim Soo-ho said that? Yeah. Should I contact him again? Chae-ne-yun closed her eyes and began to shake her body. Brr, brr. Her odd actions looked cute to Shin Jung-hak. There was no special reason he liked Chae-ne-yun. Just seeing her melted his dark feelings. How could he not fall for her? Chae-ne-yun? Huh? She looked at him. He asked, What do you think about regressors? Regressors? Yeah. Chae-ne-yun frowned. Why are you asking that all of a sudden? Well, you've heard the rumor about my grandfather being a regressor, right? Shin Young-chul being a regressor was a rumor Shin Jung-hak didn't want to accept. It felt like it diminished his achievements. Chae-ne-yun thought back to what Yuyanha once said, that Kim Hajin might be a regressor. Though Yuyanha insisted it was just speculation, the idea stuck with her. Well, her answer was simple. I'm jealous. I also want to go back in time. No, not that. Shin Jung-hak laughed and shook his head. It's my fault for asking Chae-ne-yun, he thought. Chae-ne-yun frowned. What, aren't you jealous? If there really are regressors, I think that's amazing. Think about it. It's not like we're in a novel. You'd have to be incredibly lucky and powerful to go back in time. That's what I think. And who cares if your grandfather is a regressor? Do people hate him because of that rumor? No. Everyone respects him. His name is in every history textbook. His biography is a bestseller, and there are statues of him everywhere. Why worry? Shin Jung-hak said nothing. He just looked at her, a smile breaking out on his face. With a low sigh, he muttered, This is why I love. Oi! His confession was cut off. Someone appeared outside the window. What? Chae-ne-yun quickly used key reinforcement and Shin Jung-hak grabbed his spear. Only after preparing did they check the intruder. How ya? It was Jin Sa-hyuk, sitting on the windowsill. You wench, where do you think you are? Chae-ne-yun cursed and formed a sword with magic power. Then Jin Sa-hyuk said something unexpected. Let's join forces. What? Shin Jung-hak and Chae-ne-yun stared at her dumbfounded. Jin Sa-hyuk continued. There's a crazy bastard named Yi Young-jun we need to stop. Huh, as if we'll believe you, Chae-ne-yun shouted. But before she could attack, another figure leaped into the room and stopped her. Chae-ne-yun stared at the newcomer, a giant, muscular man. Ha ha ha! It's been a while, brat! The cheerful voice belonged to Chuck Jung-yang, Office of Merchant Group, Lotus Flower. After reuniting with Yuyanha, we discussed the upcoming Transnational Peace Conference. I don't know what will happen exactly, Kim Soo-ho said. He was sure a disaster would occur during the conference, but that was all he knew.
Yi Ji-yoon asked, Can't we stop the conference itself? No, it's too late. It took 3 years just to set a date. Canceling now would be like declaring war. As the sword commander, Kim Soo-ho understood the world's politics. While focusing on the meeting, I glanced at Rachel beside me. She was also looking at me. We both smiled. What are you two doing? Yu Yenha caught us, glaring with narrowed eyes. Then, cha! She clapped her hands. You can say hi later. Focus on the meeting. Kim Soo-ho, are Na-yoon and Jeon-hak ready? Let me ask. Hold on, there's a small delay. Kim Soo-ho closed his eyes. After about 2 minutes, he nodded. Yeah, they said they're ready. He seemed to get another message and stared into the air. Then, Kim Soo-ho's expression froze. What? What happened? Eileen urged. Kim Suho clenched his teeth. Jin Sahyak and Chak Jong-yang are with Chae Na-yoon. Harbor City, Thanes. On a late full moon night, I returned to Thanes where Boss and Shimurin were staying. I thought Boss would be happy to hear we found Chak Jong-young. But when I arrived at Shimurin's workshop, I was surprised. Right. That's how you use magic power. Your ability is excellent, but your connection with magic power isn't delicate enough. You're using your gift by instinct, not with magic power. Boss didn't look lonely or bored. She was being tutored by Shimurin. Thanks to the Grand Magician's teaching, Boss's shadow was no longer black. It was blue like ice. She had imbued an attribute into her shadow. Boss, I called carefully. Boss, who was training, turned to me. Oh, you're here, Hajin? Yes, I'm back, I replied, still dazed. Shimurin looked at me, blinked, then rubbed her finger under her nose. Oh, you're back early. My dimensional magic isn't ready yet. Well, there's something I need to talk to you about. I walked over and stood next to Boss. She looked at me with her usual expressionless face. Boss, Oh, Hajin. Boss cut me off, then smiled slightly. I met Jane. Jane, great. I found Chak Jong-young. That's Jane. Huh? I tilted my head. The Chak Jong-young I found was Jane? Jane is disguised as Chak Jong-young right now. You sent Zheng to the Tower of Wish 9th floor, remember? Oh, right. I finally understood. I had sent Chak Jong-young to the 9th floor. Then you won't be lonely once Jane comes. Boss frowned a little. What? Who said I was lonely? Pfft, don't laugh. Boss glared at me, but it wasn't scary at all. I smiled and placed my hand on her shoulder. You two... At that moment, Shimurin looked between us and asked, What's your relationship? Huh? What's your relationship? You don't look like just friends, especially you. Boss didn't answer. She looked up at me, waiting for my answer. I smiled at her, then turned to Shimurin. As I said, she's my boss. I like her a lot. At the same time, I imbued Stigma's magic power into my eyes, expanding my vision to observe Boss from the side. She was blushing, though she didn't realize it. Come! She even coughed in embarrassment. She really couldn't be cuter. Chapter 327. I bought dinner ingredients at a grocery store near Shimurin's workshop. Using a recipe from a Michelin 3-star restaurant, I cooked broiled calves and dumplings. The delicious aroma soon filled the mansion. Shimurin, who had claimed to be uninterested, eventually came to the table. She kept asking, What's this? What's that? As she sampled each dish. Before long, she sat down and ate with us. I see. Afraid Shimurin would steal from her plate, Boss quickly swallowed the last dumpling and nodded. Yes. I had just finished explaining to Boss everything about the Transnational Peace Conference, my reunion with Yu Anna, Rachel, and the others, and the fact that the last major event of my setting, Baal's descent, would take place at the conference. Nom. Chewing a mouthful of dumplings, Boss fell into deep thought. A lot must be crossing her mind right now. Nom. She's probably thinking about Belle's true identity and his relationship with Yi Youngjan and Baal. Tuck! Suddenly, Shimurin put down her fork. Shimurin looked at us in turn, then gave a small smile. So, your claim that you're from another world seems to be true. You know about this world's future, and your magic power is clearly different from ours. Boss and I stared at Shimurin in silence. Neither of us were surprised. We already knew Shimurin was far more knowledgeable than we could imagine. She was, after all, a grand magician. I suddenly recalled O.J. Jin, the 9 stars member and a 10-star magician. I had used setting intervention to make pills that could cure his gift's side effect. He took them, then ran away with his wife. Of course, that didn't mean I could devalue everything O.J. Jin had done for humanity. Still, I couldn't help but feel somewhat disappointed about losing the help of someone as knowledgeable as Shimurin. So, how much time does this world have left? Is this world going to end soon? Shimurin asked. I hesitated for a moment, but soon nodded. I wouldn't be able to fool her if I tried. I decided it was better to be honest and just ask for her help.
Yes, probably. Probably. That's a tricky word, Shimmerin muttered as she rose from her chair. I said probably because it can be stopped, I replied earnestly. Still, Shimmerin remained expressionless and glared at me with cold eyes. It doesn't matter to me, anyway. Didn't I tell you that my goal is to migrate to another world? My heart sank, but I couldn't say anything. This world had fallen long ago. What I was seeing now was nothing more than Ball's reconstruction of the fallen world. Dimensional travel was naturally impossible, since Shimmerin was, in the end, a mere reflection of the dead. I see. In the end, that was all I could say. Shimmerin stared at me for a long time, then turned and went down to the basement. The capital of the Republic of Leoris. The next day, Serene was roaming the streets of the capital. As the daughter of the president, she liked to study public sentiment up close from time to time. No one recognized her beneath her disguise. She walked with confidence. The streets were full of men traveling in and out of tall brick buildings and women in antique coats. The city was as busy and vibrant as ever. "Extra! Extra!" She heard a boy shouting, handing out newspapers to passers-by. Serene widened her eyes. She had heard of this before. Sometimes, when there was a news flash, newspaper companies would print extra copies in the evening. She'd heard about it, but this was her first time seeing it in person, and she was amazed. "Come find out the truth about the monster massacre from 3 days ago," the boy shouted, and only then did the passers-by finally show interest in the newspaper. Serene hesitated for a second before grabbing a copy herself. She turned her gaze to the front page and Monster Massacre from 3 days ago. The hero who wiped out monsters was an F-rank sharpshooter from the Lorenzio Ducci? What the... Serene opened her eyes wide and clenched her fists. The article was about Kim Hajin. She had gone through so much trouble to keep all of this strictly confidential. How did they find out about Kim Hajin? 3 days ago, the people of the Republic witnessed an unforeseen phenomenon. The 5th largest monster pathway in history appeared in the Republic's capital. However, damage was non-existent thanks to the mysterious hero. At around 8:37 p.m., a rush of magic power gracefully descended from the roof of Lady Serene's mansion and wiped out all the monsters on the ground. 30,000 monsters were annihilated in just 2 hours. As a result, President Zukri declared the complete subjugation of the pathway at around 11:29 p.m. He, however, declined to comment about the mysterious hero. But the next day at 7:33 a.m., according to an anonymous source, damn it! Serene crumpled the newspaper, but she was too late. Everyone in the street was already reading the article. F-rank sharpshooter? Seriously? They're joking, right? This is interesting. I'm going to show it to my son. The murmur of the people alarmed her. This was beyond bad. At this rate, it wouldn't be long until Ironheim heard about Kim Hajin. He came here with the daughter of the Leon clan, and there was only a month left for the Transnational Peace Conference. Bzzz. At that moment, Serene felt a vibration in her pocket. It came from her portable crystal for long-distance communication. Serene took out the crystal in a hurry and picked up the call. "Yes, it's me." "Miss, we just received a message from Lorenzio. It's Iron. She claims to be in charge of the military unit Kim Hajin belongs to. She wishes to speak to her subordinate." Serene bit her lower lip. Of course she knew Iron. She was currently the most famous knight in Cruni and one of the leading candidates for the title of the current era's strongest swordsman. Tell her we don't know. Pardon? Even though the Transnational Peace Conference was just around the corner, Serene was unwilling to give up Kim Hajin. A man who can single-handedly stop a war. That was Kim Suho's description of Kim Hajin. At first, Serene was skeptical, but now, after witnessing Kim Hajin's power in person, she had come to consider Suho's assessment of Kim Hajin an underestimation. He was the ultimate weapon, much more valuable than a knight. An army of a single man that could replace hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Serene also learned from Suho the reason Kim Hajin was so strong, his equipment, more specifically, his gun, a weapon that Kim Hajin invented himself. Ironheim probably wouldn't allow him to carry such a weapon. The kingdom had strict restrictions on the manufacture of illegal weapons. Make up a credible excuse. Tell him that he suddenly disappeared, or better yet, that he's already left for the kingdom. How dare they label a man of such talent F rank and wish to get him back? Talent is like a jewel buried in mud. It belongs to a discerning eye. Yes, okay.
And please request a correction of the news article and prepare a new ID, Serene said with a smile. Transnational Peace Conference D26. Listen carefully. In the basement of Shimmeren's workshop, I was in the middle of an intense lecture. If I had to name this lecture, it would be something like How to Utilize Stigma's Magic Power by Grand Magician Shimmeren.
Your stigma is a mysterious power indeed. It seems to be in touch with the end of the world. Shimmeren muttered as she stared at my stigma. Her expression soon stiffened, and she remarked flatly, "But there's something wrong with the way you're using it." Pardon? This took me by surprise. I thought I'd been using it pretty well until now. The way you use magic power is far from efficient. You use it without control, like you're borrowing it from the outside, like you're turning water on a faucet, for example. Just like the absolute majority of people. Shimmeren then gathered magic power in her right hand. Her magic power clung together to form a distinct ball. It buzzed and vibrated like it would during an ultimate skill. Next, she gathered magic power in her left hand. This time, however, her magic power appeared dim. There was no vibration whatsoever. Observe the difference. Both contain the same magic power, but their shapes are different. Let me try. I gathered magic power in my hand as Shimmeren had done. Then, something strange happened. The amount of my magic power was similar to Shimmeren's, but mine seemed faint and less distinct. Huh? I was dumbfounded. This was the way I'd been using stigma my whole life. So, how could I be wrong? Wasn't stigma the power to make my wish come true? You're not completely wrong. This is just my way of doing it. Noticing my confusion, Shimmeren continued with a smirk. It will take a while for you to understand. Most magicians and knights exert magic power, but I carefully assemble and place magic power. As Shimmeren's explanation continued, I decided to use setting intervention to accelerate my learning. Taking classes and learning something over a period of time was just unnecessary for someone like me. Arts, 3 out of 3. 1. Parkour. 2. Charming voice. 3. Exuberant spirit power utilization technique. I deleted the second art, charming voice, and added a new art in the empty slot. Third art, 3 out of 3. Shimmeren's teachings. Calculating rank. High intermediate. Since I was learning this art directly from Shimmeren, I guessed that the amount of SP required wouldn't be as much. The original cost is 6,500 SP. However, you're currently learning this technique from a teacher, Shimmeren. The required cost is 3,500 SP. Would you like to save? 3,500 SP. It was more than I expected. Fortunately, I had 3,546 SP on me. Because I'd been earning SP even inside the gate, the amount was just barely enough. Saving arts. Your luck activates. Shimmeren's teachings has increased to high rank. At that moment, knowledge, experience, practice, function, and ideas began to flow into my head and body. Do you understand? If a typical magician wishes to use magic through the process of assembly, it will take her at least 10 minutes per spell. But I, with my efficient assembly skill, I think I get it. Though Shimmeren hadn't finished speaking, I announced confidently, "What? Who do you think you are?" Hoo-hoo. I smiled confidently, and just like Shimmeren's teachings explained, I assembled stigma inside my body and released it outward. Whoa.
Though I had used the same amount of magic power as before, it was much more clear and flawless, vibrating and resonating violently like an earthquake. Shimmeren's expression stiffened. What? How about that? Shimmeren was speechless. She couldn't take her eyes off my magic power ball. She was clearly shocked beyond belief. I learned something new. Thank you. Sincerely grateful, I bowed to Shimmeren. I had never thought to assemble stigma inside my body. Shimmeren wasn't called the Grand Magician for nothing. Tuk tuk. It was then that we heard a knock. I opened the basement door instead of Shimmeren, who had frozen up like a statue. Who? In front of me were familiar faces. First was Leon Clan's Hajin, who had climbed the mountain range with me. And second was Serene, the daughter of the Republic's president. Have you been well? Hajin greeted me first. From her relaxed smile, I could tell things had gone well for her. I have. Are you done with your verification procedure? Yes, it went well. Hajin Shi will be staying here at the Republic. Serene answered this time. She showed me an ID card. Citizen, Seiyun. This is Hajin's new identity. Ah, I see. And this, she took out another card, is yours, your new identity, Hajin Shi? I tilted my head in confusion and looked closely at the ID card. Head of Presidential Security Service, Heiji. Heiji? It's your new name. If you want to stay in the Republic, no, not that. Head of Presidential Security Service? The word head confused me. My initial status in this world was an F-rank sharpshooter. The head? Yes, that's your new position. To get things done properly, you need to be in a position of power, don't you think? Serene looked at my dumbfounded face and smiled. Now, please stay here at the Republic. I promise you 10 times, no, 100 times the treatment you received at Arunheim. No matter how much I thought about it, her smile looked too much like Yu Yanha's. Transnational Peace Conference D25. The burning afternoon sun was beating down on the backyard of the Pritton mansion. Jin Sayuk poured a bucket of cold water on Shin Jong-hak, who had collapsed after their duel. Hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo? Shin Jong-hak sprang up with a strange scream. What the hell is wrong with you? Do you want to die? Despite Shin Jong-hak's threat, Jin Sayuk just smiled. You're the one who said losers don't get to complain. Shin Jong-hak lay back on the ground without a word, for it was true that he had lost to her. Jin Sayuk glanced at Shin Jong-hak and asked, Have you thought about it? A few days ago, Jin Sayuk had proposed a plan to Shin Jong-hak. He had yet to answer her. We don't have much time. Everything will be over in 3 weeks. 3 weeks is a long time. Jin Sayuk's face twisted into a frown. Loser. Asshole. Why are you acting so childish? Jin Sayuk's face twisted into a frown. It was then, from the far corner of Pritton's backyard, Hey! The person who was the reason for Shin Jong-hak's childishness appeared. Fight me! I got all of my equipment back. You're so dead! It was Chae Na-yoon, holding a long sword in her hand.
Chapter 328. Transnational Peace Conference D24. I was at the President's residence in the heart of the capital, specifically in the office of the President's Secret Service Institute. The place was imposing, substantial, and impeccably clean. A director's suit hung in the closet. A teakwood desk and a luxurious black chair completed the perfect director's office. I had become the head of the Presidential Secret Service. I sat in the chair. It was comfortable. I picked up the nameplate on the desk. Director of the Secret Service, Heiji. It was heavy. Serene had told me my job was to protect the core members of the Republic.
including the president and other high-ranking officials. Now that I had recovered my stats to a certain degree, it wasn't difficult. "You're at work?" Yes, I am," I replied. "Great. Your job as director is simple. Just protect my father and me during the upcoming Transnational Peace Conference. Oh, and also other high-ranking officials." Serene mentioned the Transnational Peace Conference. For a moment, I stood still, silent. If Ball really descended that day, I wasn't sure I could annihilate him, the strongest devil in existence. "Your subordinate will arrive soon. The Secret Service was formed quickly, so there aren't many employees." Tuk, tuk. Someone knocked on the door at the perfect moment. "Ah, that must be them. Then please take care." The crystal ball stopped shaking, and Serene's voice cut off. Tuk, tuk. The knocking continued. I walked to the door and opened it myself. I saw an unexpected face. "Hello." Her mouth curled into a beautiful smile, and her blue eyes shone like jewels. "My name is Rachel." My first subordinate was the elementalist swordswoman, Rachel. Chapter 329. Transnational Peace Conference, D23. I went on a business trip with Rachel. Our goal was to inspect the Plaza of Glory, where the Transnational Peace Conference would be taking place. "The plaza is spacious, but I hear the conference will be held in that small temple-like place." I nodded at Rachel's explanation. The Plaza of Glory was in the Republic's capital. The area was too open to protect a large number of people, but the international summit, the most important part, would be held in a small temple at the corner of the plaza. There was a high ground in the center, serving as a watchtower, so spotting threats should be easy. The problem is that there's only one enemy. But we already knew there weren't multiple enemies. There was only one, the world's strongest evil god and rank 1 devil, Ball. "I'm sure we can win." She encouraged me with a smile. "Well, we can only hope that's the case." Just as I was about to smile back, jing! I felt a strange, penetrating gaze. Sensing its intensity, I paused and tracked the source. The 1,000-mile eyes easily spotted the person glaring at me. What? My thoughts stopped for a moment. The culprit was someone I knew well. The woman named Ebyol was hiding behind a wall, glaring at me. Has she been following me this whole time? Hajin, what's wrong? Nothing. Let's go. I walked through the plaza with Rachel and checked on Boss at the same time. She was still following us, hiding her presence. I am a bit worried. I hope she's doing well. At that moment, Rachel spoke up. She was talking about Evandil. I smiled bitterly and nodded. I'm sure she is. She has Hayoung and Ahe Shi with her. Plus, Spartan should be playing with her as well. Both Ahe and Spartan are trustworthy. Yes, I think she'll be as cheery as always. She's like me after all. You're right. I looked at Rachel and laughed. Then I remembered something. Oh yeah, Rachel, what happened with Lancaster? Huh? I'm not really sure. You don't think he followed you all the way here, do you? I joked. Rachel laughed as well. What if he really is? Lancaster might... Rachel replied lightheartedly. But as I thought more about it, a chill ran down my back. This wasn't something to laugh about. If Lancaster was alive, he would definitely have followed Rachel to this world. Well, there's no use worrying about ifs. Honestly, I was more worried about Boss, who kept following us secretly. Her gaze seemed to carry more and more killing intent as time passed. Should we go back now? Go back? There isn't much to inspect, and there's something I need to do. Rachel stared at me for a moment, then smiled knowingly. I understand. Then let's do that. See you later. Rachel spun around. Sk! The nearby trees shook as she moved, and a cherry blossom-like flower fell on her shoulder. I called to her back. See you tomorrow. After sending Rachel off, I gathered Stigma's magic power as Shimarin had taught me. I planned to use teleportation to appear behind Boss. My feet seemed to float. In the next moment, my surroundings shifted. Where did he go? Boss peeked her head out like a meerkat, staring at the spot I'd disappeared from. I placed my hand on her shoulder. Startled, Boss turned around. What? Her eyes, nose, and mouth widened when she saw me. I grinned. What are you doing here? Nothing. Boss pushed her hair back and coughed. I stared at her. Boss was wearing casual clothes, not her usual robe. Honestly, she looked even more beautiful in casual wear. Nothing much. Just, I smiled faintly and took her hand. Well, if you're not busy, why don't you go for a walk with me? With the plaza so beautiful, I wanted to stroll around with Boss openly.
Transnational Peace Conference, D16. I won! In Printon Mansion's backyard, China Yun's voice rang out. Lying on the ground next to her were a man and a woman. One was Shin Jong-hak, already fainted, and the other was Jin Sa-hyuk. The area showed signs of a fierce battle. I'm exhausted. With a sigh, China Yun staggered and plopped down. Jin Sa-hyuk turned her head and stared at China Yun. Aren't you embarrassed? China Yun flinched, then turned to Jin Sa-hyuk. She had won against Jin Sa-hyuk, but the problem was the process. China Yun had teamed up with Shin Jong-hak to fight Jin Sa-hyuk. It was a 2-on-1 battle. China Yun avoided Jin Sa-hyuk's gaze. Jin Sa-hyuk smirked and stood up. Hey, you can still stand? I thought you were out. What China Yun didn't know was that Jin Sa-hyuk's authority gave her an insane recovery rate. I'm different from you. There you go again, being annoying. Just wait. I'll be ready in 3 minutes. Jin Sa-hyuk ignored China Yun and entered the mansion. A maid greeted her. Shall I prepare your meal? No, it's fine. Jin Sa-hyuk was staying in the mansion as Shin Jong-hak's guest. She walked up to her room on the 4th floor. Keek! But after she opened the door, she was faced with an unexpected guest. A robed man stood tall in her room. The sword at his waist was taller than him, and Jin Sa-hyuk recognized him immediately. Kim Soo-ho. Kim Soo-ho had come to see her. Jin Sa-hyuk smiled at Kim Soo-ho. Kim Soo-ho took off his robe and faced her with a stiff expression. The tension broke when Jin Sa-hyuk spoke. You're finally here. You knew I'd come. Of course. Kim Soo-ho's eyebrows rose at her confidence. I came to hear your plan. Oh, that's a surprise. You're going to trust me? I know you're not a liar. This time, Jin Sa-hyuk's expression changed. The corner of her mouth twisted up. Right. I don't lie. But... Jin Sa-hyuk glanced behind Kim Soo-ho. The person she was looking for wasn't there. Kim Hajin's not here. Hajin? I didn't think I needed to bring him. Useless. Jin Sa-hyuk clicked her tongue, then pushed Kim Soo-ho aside and sat on her bed. Kim Soo-ho glared at her. Tell me what you know and what you're planning to... There are 16 days until Baal's descent. Jin Sa-hyuk interrupted, her face serious. Before then, you need to kill Yi Yun-jun. Printon Mansion, after Kim Soo-ho's departure, Jin Sa-hyuk lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling. It was already dark, and a cool breeze entered through the open window. It's almost time, she murmured quietly as the night made her a bit emotional. My return to my beloved home. The ending I've strived for my entire life. Soon my life's purpose will be fulfilled. What do you mean? A voice that wasn't Jin Sa-hyuk's rang out. The voice arrived suddenly, with no traceable source. Jin Sa-hyuk even wondered if it came from her heart.
But she knew that wasn't the case. She raised her head. "I'm going to ask again." A man stood next to her bed. The moment Jin Sahyuk saw him, a smile appeared on her face. "It's you!" A black robe inscribed with a lotus flower covered his body, and his face was hidden by a mask. Still, Jin Sahyuk knew who he was. "You told Kim Suho that we had to kill Yi Yun-jun." He was the infamous Black Lotus, but his real name was Kim Hajin. "Explain to me in detail." Jin Sahyuk stared at Kim Hajin. Perhaps because it had been a while since she last saw him, she felt happy. She wanted to keep looking into his eyes. "Hey, how long have you been watching me?" Kim Hajin didn't answer. He had followed Kim Suho secretly and watched his conversation with Jin Sahyuk. A while ago, just as Kim Hajin was about to speak, "Hey! Kwang!" A loud shout rang out and Jin Sahyuk's door burst open. Chain Ayun stomped in. "Is it true that Kim Suho came and But Chain Ayun couldn't finish her sentence. She noticed the robed man standing in Jin Sahyuk's room. Her eyes fell on the lotus symbol on his robe. A jet-black robe with a lotus symbol. Chain Ayun jumped slightly. The robe was clearly the symbol of Black Lotus. Black Lotus was well known among both heroes and djinns. Some worshipped him, some despised him. Some called him the world's strongest man, others the world's worst criminal. He was both an anti-hero and a villain. Seeing Black Lotus up close, Chain Ayun's eyes widened. Meanwhile, Kim Hajin was drenched in cold sweat under his robe. He was so flustered his thoughts stopped for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. Even with Chain Ayun's sharp intuition, there was little chance she would figure out his identity. The Black Lotus uniform was designed to hide it. Even Chain Ayun's senses shouldn't be able to see through equipment made with dwarf's dexterity. While Chain Ayun and Kim Hajin stood in a daze, Jin Sahyuk burst out laughing and got up. "It looks like even an idiot like you knows who he is." "Idiot?" Chain Ayun scowled. Jin Sahyuk grabbed Kim Hajin by the collar and said to Chain Ayun, "Let me introduce him. He's my friend, Black Lotus."
Chapter 329. Let me introduce him. He's my friend, Black Lotus. Jin Sahyuk spoke as she grabbed Black Lotus by the collar. Black Lotus immediately shot her a sharp glare, while Chain Ayun looked back and forth between Jin Sahyuk and Black Lotus. "Black Lotus?" Chain Ayun muttered quietly. Kim Ha-jin kept his mouth shut. Now that the art that allowed him to change his voice was gone, he feared he might be discovered if he spoke. Staring intently at Black Lotus, Chain Ayun asked in a stiff tone, "Oi, why did you invite a thief?" Jin Sahyuk tilted her head. "Legend, my ass. Now that I think about it, Jin Sahyuk, you're with the chameleon troupe, like Chok Jong-yong, that bastard." Jin Sahyuk smirked at Chain Ayun's aggressive tone. "Think what you want." She let go of Black Lotus's collar, and he promptly took a step back. Jin Sahyuk turned to Chain Ayun. "All right then, I have something to discuss with Lotus." "Go ahead." Surprisingly, Chain Ayun left the room without protest. Quang. She purposely slammed the door, but it was obvious she intended to eavesdrop from the other side. After all, a mere wall couldn't block her sharp hearing if she focused. Now then, Jin Sahyuk must have noticed Chain Ayun's intentions too. With a mischievous smile, she continued, "Are you going to kill Yi Yun-jun?" Kim Ha-jin didn't answer. Jin Sahyuk glanced at the door and continued, "Yi Yun-jun is trying to become Baal by succeeding the position of the incarnation body. But if that crazy bastard returns to Earth as Baal, it's obvious what will happen. He's far more evil than Baal will ever be." Yi Yun-jun was without a doubt the most evil human Jin Sahyuk knew. His very existence was rooted in pure evil. Jin Sahyuk knew that Yi Yun-jun was currently obsessed with Baal. So,
Lotus, are you going to kill Lee Yeon-jun? Or, and Jin Sayuk paused, the corner of her lips twisting up, or will you let Kim Hajin kill him? Brrr. Both Kim Hajin and Jin Sayuk sensed someone's presence outside the room. It was obviously Chae Na-yoon. Jin Sayuk glanced at the door again and continued. You should know what this means. It doesn't matter which one of you kills Lee Yeon-jun, but one of you must do it. Kill Lee Yeon-jun yourself. That was what Jin Sayuk was saying. But if I were to guess, I'd say Kim Ha-jin will be the one to kill him. Jin Sayuk snickered and released her magic power. It slowly wrapped around Kim Ha-jin's body, but as it carried no hostility or killing intent, Kim Ha-jin stayed still. Jin Sayuk spoke in that state. If you look at it from a bigger picture, it's Lee Yeon-jun's fault that Kim Ha-jin had no choice but to kill Chae Jin-yoon. What? Jin Sayuk's sudden, nonsensical comment was one Kim Ha-jin couldn't ignore. His eyes shot open in shock. Like I said, if you look at it from a bigger picture, Jin Sayuk said mischievously, but their conversation was cut short. Chae Na-yoon, who had been eavesdropping, burst into the room again. Quang! The door flew open.
Chae Na-yoon glared at them, her face full of shock. Hey, what did you mean by... But Kim Ha-jin couldn't hear the rest of her sentence. Whoa. When Jin Sayuk activated her reality manipulation, her magic power stuck to Kim Ha-jin reacted. Chua! A brilliant light shot out. Kim Ha-jin closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again. To his surprise, he found himself standing in the middle of a forest. Jin Sayuk had teleported him far away from Chae Na-yoon. Korea, Seoul. After the opening of the Demon Realm Gate, large-scale calamities struck one after another. First, Demon Realm transformation sped up rapidly. Previously, it was confined to Manchu and the Ural Mountain Range. Now it had spread to Central Asia, Eastern Europe, and Northern Europe. Over 20% of Earth became corrupted. Of course, humanity didn't just sit and wait. Researchers around the world discovered that mana stones could delay the progress of Demon Realm transformation. Next, with the power of Endymincy's entropy, essential dynamics succeeded in creating more mana stones. As a result, the speed of Demon Realm transformation diminished noticeably. However, another problem arose due to jinns and demons. When Pandemonium partially underwent Demon Realm transformation, demons took over the land, and the jinns who were chased out infiltrated human society, causing chaos. The politically moderate argued that jinns served different devils, and there were non-hostile jinns who served non-hostile devils. They encouraged distinguishing between evil and non-evil jinns, but their opponents insisted that jinns were fundamentally evil and belonged in prison. And so, the current political climate was charged with chaos and anger. Tower of Heroes, the headquarters of the Hero Association. Two noble guests, Chae Ju-chol and Henkes, stared at each other. Chae Ju-chol was as expressionless as ever, while Henkes shrugged as if he had nothing more to say. "Are you finished?" A gentle voice flowed into their ears. Both men turned toward the voice. Standing there was a woman who had died once, but now had revived. "I can leave then, right?" The first descender, Medea. She didn't cower in the slightest before Chae Ju-chol and Henkes, two of Earth's strongest fighters. In fact, she treated them like children and laughed at their actions. "What kind of life do you plan on leading from now on?" Chae Ju-chol stopped Medea and asked. Medea stared at Chae Ju-chol as if looking at a cute puppy and touched her lips with her finger. "Let me think. Since I'm the first descender..." The first descender. Medea liked this title. Athena, Lu Bu, and others were looking for opportunities to descend, but she knew they were far from ready. "I'm going to live beautifully. I heard Seoul is the richest and most powerful city, so I'm going to build a huge mansion in Seoul. I'll have my workshop in the basement and about 100 servants serving me. Che Juchal and Henkes exchanged glances. For someone called a witch, the lifestyle she wished for seemed too simple. Once the brief exchange was over, Henkes spoke. "We can do that much for you. But, by the way, when will you two stop using casual speech? I'm a couple thousand years older, you know." Medea furrowed her brows unhappily. With a peeved look, Henkes nodded. "We can grant you that. But will you be willing to help us in return?" Henkes didn't argue and used polite speech. A smile immediately bloomed on Medea's face. "You're saying the same thing as that man." Henkes furrowed his brows. "That man? You don't need to know. He's far more delicate and valuable than you two." Hearing this, even Che Juchal frowned a little. Neither he nor Henkes could think of any man who fit that description. "Well, anyway," Medea smirked, "don't worry about that. I don't want the world I'm going to live in to be dirtied." She spun around and flapped her ceremonial dress. This heavenly dress was the epitome of perfection, crafted by the successor of the dwarves, Kim Hajin.
My true name is Medea. As an ancient demigod and a sorceress, I shall lend you my strength." Immediately, suppressed magic power rose from Medea's body. Her insurmountable magic power swirled inside the room. In that instant, both Che Juchal and Hynix stared at each other. Hynix said with his eyes, "Looks like things worked out, friend," and Che Juchal replied with his eyes, "Indeed." It was a very Che Juchal-like response. Transnational Peace Conference D10. Only 10 days remained until the Transnational Peace Conference. I looked out the window of the director's office and sighed. Birds flew in the clear blue sky. Everything seemed peaceful. But my mind was far from peaceful. I had recovered my strength and reclaimed my equipment, including the god-slaying bullet, yet my worries lingered. Both Baal and what Jin Sayuk said stayed in my mind. If you look at it from a bigger picture, it's Yi Yun Jun's fault that Kim Ha-jin had no choice but to kill Che Jin Yun. Why did Jin Sayuk say that? Was it just to provoke me and Che Na-yun? Or did she hear something from Belle? I managed to find out Yi Yun Jun's relationship with Boss thanks to Yu Jin Hyuk, but there was still a lot I didn't know about Yi Yun Jun. What could Che Na-yun be thinking right now? What did she talk about with Jin Sayuk that day? I was curious, but Che Na-yun had cut off communication with me. "Is something on your mind?" Harin asked at that moment. I turned and glanced at Harin. Under the false name of Yurin, she had joined the Secret Service 4 days ago. In other words, she was now my subordinate. "No, it's nothing. What about you? Are you feeling better?" "Yes, except that I still can't get used to my name." Harin laughed out loud. I smiled bitterly and nodded. "The Transnational Peace Conference is in 10 days, but don't worry too much." Harin tried to calm me down. Honestly, having her with me was a relief. She wasn't a half-hearted devil hunter like me, but a real one, inheriting the lineage of exorcists. She would be a valuable asset in combating Baal. "I'll leave it to you, Harin-si." But I can't get used to having you as my superior. You used to be the one protecting me." "You can talk casually if you want." No, it's fine. I'm not nobility anymore. I'm more comfortable the way things are now." Harin smiled calmly as if she had found peace. Toc toc. Someone knocked on the door. Huh? Is it Rachel? I tilted my head curiously and opened the door. Rachel? Were I not expecting? Ha. It's been a while, Hajin. A woman scratched her head with an awkward laugh. It really has. Wow. A muscular man tried to hug me with a wide grin. It was Yun Sung Ah and Yi Young Han. What? I stared at them blankly. Yun Sung Ah offered an explanation. "We were in Krovan Kingdom, which is below the Republic of Leo Rez. We heard from Suho that you were here and came to see you." "Oh, I see." I nodded in a daze. Yi Young Han smacked my arm and said loudly, "Oh yeah, there's someone else who came with us." "Hey,
Get over here! At Yi Young-han's call, a large man walked out from behind the wall. When I saw him, I couldn't help but smile. I didn't expect to see you here. He was someone I had had a mild conflict with back in Cube. To be exact, he was beaten up one-sidedly and made his exit early. Hey, it's been a while. Because I hadn't seen him in so long, I was somewhat touched. The man was Shin Jang-krok's old lackey, Kim Ho-rak. Yeah, really. I grinned and offered him my hand. Kim Ho-rak flinched, but smiled embarrassedly and took my hand. Yeah, I'm happy to see you. We haven't seen each other since Cube, right? Yeah. I shook hands with Kim Ho-rak. As expected from a close combat warrior, his hand was full of calluses. Whoa, you have a lot of friends. Harin approached us with a bright smile. Nice to meet you. My name is Yurin, the third most influential person of the Secret Service. Pardon? Yes, hello. I'm Yun Sung-ah. Yun Sung-ah, what a pretty name. What about you? I'm Yi Young-han. Yi Young-han C. Like a true social extrovert, Harin greeted the new faces warmly.
Chapter 330. I contacted Kim Suho and asked about the sudden arrivals. He replied that he had sent people he discovered from Earth to me. With that, the Secret Service now had 7 members: Harin, Aileen, Rachel, Yi Young-han, Kim Ho-rak, Yun Sung-ah, and me. Really? Inside the director's office, Aileen, the spirit speech master, murmured with her legs crossed. She was originally Kim Suho's maid, but had now been promoted to manager of the Secret Service. That was one convenience of the newly created institution. Yes, so to sum it up again, we need to work together to defeat Ball. Rachel summarized the plan once more. And there's something else. I plan to add one more goal to our mission. Aileen, Rachel, and the others all turned their attention to me. I showed them a portrait. This person. It was the portrait I made using the Book of Truth. Aileen and Yun Sung-ah seemed to recognize him, raising their eyebrows, while the others tilted their heads curiously. Who is this? Rachel asked, but Aileen answered first. She should be the previous boss of the Chameleon Troupe, back when the group wasn't well known. He was a criminal on the Hero Association's blacklist. From what I remember, he was the first person to be placed on the blacklist as a single entity. Now it's a lot different with Wicked and the other 9 evils. Aileen leaned back in her chair. Blacklist? Yun-han asked nervously. The association's blacklist was reserved for the most heinous villains and djinns. It was believed that only a master-rank hero could hope to kill a blacklisted target. There were even rumors that to rise to master rank, a high-rank hero had to kill a blacklisted target. Yep, back in my time, the Chameleon Troupe was a lot more vicious than they are now. They used to abduct and sell people, take on assassination requests practically every week. Huh. Aileen yawned, stretched her arms, and continued. But now, they aren't that vicious. They're still considered a group of bandits, but not only do they reject unnecessary murder and massacre, they even got themselves off the association's wanted list after helping with the Orden incident. And the reason the Chameleon Troupe changed so much is... Aileen paused and held up the portrait. Because this man isn't their leader. He died a long time ago, and the Chameleon Troupe was reborn under a new leader. Yun Sung-ah nodded in agreement. Aileen tapped on the portrait and continued. So, since he's dead, we can't find him even if we want to. She's right, Hajin. I chuckled. Anyone who knew about the Chameleon Troupe would think the same as Aileen and Yun Sung-ah. No, that man is alive. I spoke firmly. I had confirmed with my own eyes that Yi Yanjun was alive. According to Jin Sahuk, he had been frozen all this time. His name is Yi Yanjun. I pointed at the portrait. He faked his death and is now in this place. He should be in the Arunheim Kingdom, but he will eventually come to the Republic. What? Aileen and Yun Sung-ah's expressions turned serious. We have to kill Yi Yanjun before Ball's descent. No, wait, I don't understand. How can he be... You can understand slowly. For now, we have to get ready. Leaving behind Aileen, who was still in shock, I turned to Harin. She didn't seem to follow what we said since she was busy taking notes. Yurinshi?
Huh? Yes? I smiled at her as gently as possible and made a request. Please teach us how to hunt a devil. Back in Arunheim Kingdom, guest room. The sky was both dark and bright, as if the stars were about to fall. On this cold winter night, Jin Sa-hook came to see Yi Yan-jun. She asked to talk, and Yi Yan-jun agreed. They sat across from each other at the table on the guest room balcony. Their stares were cold, neither side showing weakness. Let me ask you one thing, Jin Sa-hook began. It can be more if you'd like, Yi Yan-jun replied with a smile. Jin Sa-hook asked without any change in her expression. Why do you want to be with Baal? Isn't that question a little... All Baal can do is destroy Earth. If Earth is destroyed, you won't be able to obtain anything. Since you're not the true incarnation body, you won't be able to form an equal relationship like Bel and Baal. You'll just end up as Baal's slave. It doesn't matter. Yi Yan-jun replied that it didn't matter. Why? Jin Sa-hook pressed. Who knows? Yi Yan-jun thought about his past. A baby born an orphan. A child used by adults. A youth who became vicious to appear strong. To Yi Yan-jun, the world was nothing but a target of anger and resentment. You realize how stupid that is, right? Yi Yan-jun chuckled at Sa-hook's question. Of course, I do, but... He paused, remembering what once was his, the chameleon troupe, Bel and Rumi, Buell and Jine. The days he spent with them could perhaps be called fond memories. But those days belonged to his chameleon troupe. But he clenched his teeth. Now those memories had lost their light. Buell had inherited the chameleon troupe, and she'd been dirtied by someone he didn't know. I have nothing left. I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of being forgotten. But so I have no choice but to destroy it all. You're insane. Sa-hook couldn't help but laugh. Yi Yan-jun glared at her and continued. It has nothing to do with you anyway. I promised I'd open a dimensional portal to Akaterina. That promise stands, even if I become Baal. He stared at Sa-hook and then smirked. Becoming one with Baal and putting myself in an endless loop of destruction and death. That seems a wonderful end to my pitiful life. Looking at him, Sa-hook thought Yi Yan-jun resembled her past self before meeting Kim Hajin. A bitter taste lingered in her mouth. Let's stop here. Sa-hook sighed and stood up. Same time, Arunheim Kingdom's Pritton Mansion. Chae-na-yeon was racking her brain with Shin Jong-hak. So, for whatever reason, Kim Hajin and Black Lotus are fighting, Chae-na-yeon explained. Shin Jong-hak frowned and tilted his head curiously. Kim Hajin is fighting Black Lotus? Well, something like that. I know they're both competing to kill Yi Yan-jun or something like that.
Chae-na-yeon demanded a more detailed explanation from Jin Sa-hook. But Jin Sa-hook stayed silent about Kim Ha-jin and Black Lotus's relationship. In truth, Jin Sa-hook gave Chae-na-yeon a chance. She would tell her if Chae-na-yeon beat her in a one-on-one fight. But Chae-na-yeon couldn't defeat Jin Sa-hook. Most likely, she wouldn't be able to until the end of the Transnational Peace Conference. Just as Shin Jong-hak said, her compatibility with Jin Sa-hook was the absolute worst. Yi Yan-jun? Shin Jong-hak asked again. Yeah, Kim Ha-jin is trying to kill Yi Yan-jun. As for why, if you look at it from a bigger picture, it's Yi Yan-jun's fault that Kim Ha-jin had no choice but to kill Chae Jin-yoon. Jin Sa-hook's voice lingered in Chae-na-yeon's mind. Chae-na-yeon clenched her teeth. It might be related to Oppa. Shin Jong-hak didn't say anything. He simply nodded. He knew how sensitive Chae-na-yeon was about Chae Jin-yoon. Anyways, Chuck. Chae-na-yeon suddenly clapped. I was thinking we should brainstorm together. Brainstorm what? Shin Jong-hak scratched his head. You know, let's come up with theories. How Kim Ha-jin, Black Lotus, and Yi Yan-jun are related, why Black Lotus is trying to kill the former leader of his group, and why Kim Ha-jin is trying to kill Yi Yan-jun. Chae-na-yeon put down a notebook on the table, filled with her theories. Let's go. If we rack our heads together, there's nothing we can't solve. If you want. Great, then let's begin.
Chae-na-yoon and Shin Jong-hak sat together and thought. Several theories flew around their heads and notes. As a result, Na-yoon, the person who planted the devil's seed in your older brother, what if that was Yi Yan-jun? Shin Jong-hak arrived at a shocking hypothesis. Chae-na-yoon's eyes widened like a frightened rabbit. Transnational Peace Conference, D7. Only a week remained until the Transnational Peace Conference. The Republic's night was bright with artificial lights, and the sound of civilization rang out day and night from the countless people who came to the Republic of Leoris for the conference. Can you see well from there, Director? As Director of the Secret Service, I was overseeing part of the security operations for the conference. From the watchtower in the middle of Leoris Plaza, I kept my eyes out for terrorists. Yeah, Kim Horak, there's a suspicious individual wearing a black hat to the northwest of your position. He has bombs on him too. Understood. Kim Horak followed my command, approached the man and quickly subdued him, taking away his bombs. Seeing Kim Horak follow orders so well, I realized why Shin Jong-hak ordered him around like a loyal dog. Here, take him away. Kim Horak handed him over once other security forces arrived. Good job. It looks like there's nothing else to worry about within a 3-kilometer radius, so we can rest. Just as we were communicating through a crystal ball, I suddenly caught sight of someone. Wait, attention. There was an individual wearing a gray robe. However, my 1,000-mile eyes easily penetrated his robe and saw the face underneath. As expected, it was Yi Yan-jun. Found him. I smiled in satisfaction. Then my expression stiffened. Director? What happened? Oi, Director! I couldn't tell them Yi Yan-jun was nearby. Boss was with Shimurin just a short distance away.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.